Following on to part 2 of the revised edition, the next step is to build the fashion piece. I'm using my builder's prerogative, and I am going straight to the aft cant frame, simply because I think this is the most important part to get right. And having started on that journey, the scarf joints were giving me a lot of trouble. So I've also made a decision to make that piece only from a solid piece of wood, because I have skills to learn in terms of developing how to do a compound scarf join. Here we have the aftmost cant frame installed. You can see that it lines up perfectly with the plan drawn on the building board. And when you line it up with the outside edge, you'll see that it does line up perfectly. The port side, it's slightly out. Somehow, maybe the glue joint brought it out a little more. So I'm going to have to sand this down so that it lines up absolutely flush with the building board. And then the outside edge of this one is again perfectly set. So having discovered that error on the aft cant frame, we're going to use a sanding board, and this is 100 grit paper, because we have to take down around a 1/32 of an inch to get it out. And you now see that this has been corrected, and it is totally in line with the building board. And just to confirm back why this is so important, it is the cumulative effect of these mistakes that will cause problems as the model goes through. So you need to continually measure as you go forward to make sure that you contain these errors. Using that jig that I built, you will see that the aft cant frame is absolutely square to the building board. So this little jig is really turning out to be very useful. So now we are going to cut the fashion strip, and we've already done one. In fact, we're going to make quite a few of these, both for the left side and the right side. So what I did is I actually made up a square jig, just again so it's repeatable. And I use this on various scrap pieces of wood. I set up my saw to be able to cut the 29.5 degree cut. That's really the only difficult cut in the process. And the rest of it is cut on the bandsaw and cleaned up on my spiral sander. And then it's adjusted and stuck. You don't have to worry about it sticking out too much. This can be cleaned up afterwards. And you do the exact same thing on the other side. As you now go to make the filler strips, this is why I told you it's really good to make quite a few of these, because the filler strips, you're going to put 3 on either side, so that means you need to make up 6 filler strips. And the most important angle is again this 29 degree angle. So I tend to do 2 things. One is that you will see as you start to fit the filler strips that you need to change this angle here. As you start going back, if you use exactly the same angle here, the number 4 filling transom piece, you will tend to find that it's either on the edge, just outside, or just inside, and you want to get more of this under the filling transom piece. And the easiest way to do that, keeping the 29 degrees, is to increase this angle here. This angle here. So as you increase this angle, it tends to go in like this, which will pull more of this piece in this way, and that's what we need to do. First filler strip has a bigger space than the other two, so we've taken this from the main plan, and it seems to work pretty good. Drawn a line on the filler strip, and we're going to go on a grinder and grind it down. And of course we have set up the grinder to the same 29.5 degrees. And then we trial fit it using the bigger spacer, and that's fine. So now we can go to glue. And we've clamped it in place, and we have the two filler strips. This is, when we cut off this piece, that'll be the second filler. And there we have put the second piece in, pulling it tight and using a smaller spacer as indicated in the Mylar plan. And there is the third filler piece in place. So we just need to do the same thing on the other side and clean it up. Just to put things in perspective, this is the first filler piece. And this is the third filler piece, and the only thing they have in common is the 29.5 inch angle cut, which allows it to sit firm against the sternwood and parallel to the one that came before it. And we've just done some rough cleaning. The final cleaning will be done later on in the build. And this is the port side. And looking back at the entire frame.